Mm.
I had had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in
Oh
the middle
yeah,
of
that's what
nowhere?
I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, you know. Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die?" Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday night edition of Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly. Hey, Joni. Hey, Joe. Paul, good to see you. With my co host tonight, Miss C.L. Thomas, who has her own podcast Tuesday nights at 9:10 p.m. or 9:15, whichever one she wants to start at. She's the boss of it. And and it's called the Gateway Podcast, which comes on Tuesday nights from 9:10 to 10:10 p.m. And she follows my show. I want to thank you, PRN Talk Radio 105.3. Hey, Kevin. Hey, Kurt. Good to see you. 105.3 Mississippi, 107.7 New Orleans. Hey, Sally. Good to see you. Kevin. Good to see you. And what other announcements? Oh, yeah. Um, so the next show that follows me tonight, Mr. Don Yazzie of Don't Whistle at Night podcast. It comes on right after mine. So when you're done watching my show, go on over to Mr. Don Yazzie's podcast and, give him some love, man. Send him some love. But we have a good show tonight going on. I got my co-host, Miss CL Thomas, and you know for a fact that, like I said, it started last Sunday. This is my Halloween, I guess, episodes or the Halloween series that I'm going to be doing every Sunday night. And so I'm really, I told you I was going to talk about witches, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight, or the witches of Halloween. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, I surprised CL the other day. She was on TikTok doing the little film, like a little video thing, and I popped on, and she got surprised, and I like her heart dropped down to the floor when she saw me. It's like, "Oh, Sean, how are you?
Hey,
Good to
Sean.
see you." Yeah. And so she was talking about, some stuff about witchy stuff. And right there at that very moment, I'm thinking, hey, we can talk about this on Sunday. And so I asked her, I put her on the spot and I asked her, do you want to talk about witchy stuff on Sunday night? And she said, sure, not a problem. So Miss CL was with us and we're going to talk about that. And Kurt broke out the brooms already. Do you believe that stuff? They're breaking out the brooms.
Breaking up the
How you
brooms.
doing tonight, Miss CL?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain.
Good.
So
I see you
everything's
smiling. That's good.
I
You
just
got a
got back from Long Beach, California last night. I flew in from their tiny, cute little 1950s airport.
mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen their airport?
No, I have not.
It's something right out of the 1950s, and you can almost see Howard Hughes pulling up into it. You know, he flew his, I think it's the Hercules plane out of that
Hmm.
airport and over the beach area to try it out. You can
Right.
almost picture him doing that.
Oh yeah.
Very
Well,
interesting.
well, look how nostalgic that is for you being on that. Hey Michelle, good to see you, and Sally, good to see you too. And Joni, just want to get everybody in. Hey Heidi, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. And so, what brought you? What kind of like brought you to start talking about that on TikTok the other day? I'd like to know.
Okay, so a little backstory. For those who don't, you would never guess this about me because I keep it pretty much under wraps. But I am a practicing witch. I've been practicing for 20 plus years now. I started at like age 17 and
Hmm.
continue to do it forever. It was just always something that was there. But there's a there's a Facebook group that was started by somebody, and I'm not going to mention names because these people are friends of mine. But the whole point of it was for witches to get together and discuss different ways of practice, different, just exchange ideas basically. And
Hmm.
she had to close it down. And you know why? We had
Why?
people that would get on there and say, well, you can't use sage because you're not Native American, or you can't use that gemstone because of this, or whatever it was. There was a bunch of gatekeepers on there telling people, you can't do this, you can't do that, it's only this way. And that's not the case with this at all. There's no experts in this practice whatsoever. So there
Right.
shouldn't be any gatekeepers telling people that you can't use a specific item in it. You can't, I mean, you don't have to dress a certain way or look a certain way or practice a certain way. It's all up to the individual and what works for them because it's all about
Hmm.
intent at the end of the day. Magic is it's nothing about, it's about intentions. You don't even really need anything to practice witchcraft. So,
Yeah, they're a bunch of trolls. Everyone's saying Michelle, Joni, you're calling them trolls.
a bunch of
And
trolls.
Kevin, yeah, and Kevin agrees with you too. But that's I when you
Really
said
got a
that
heat and it got ugly.
yeah, whenever people come on and they try to throw their weight around, you know what I mean? I'm like, go to hell. Let me do my thing. And that's why I was like, when I first started paranormal investigating back in 2006, I was a lone wolf, buddy. There's groups out there, but I had to do it their way. And I'm like, I'm not doing it your way. I'm doing it my way. And
Hmm.
so it was. So I understand where you're coming from. You just like throw them out the freaking door. Heidi says, honestly, feeling all sorts of uncomfortable feels. Forgot my sister is in town and got to make peace for my dad's effing sake. So As we're waiting on the table for dinner, I'm standing alone down the sidewalk. Oh, wow. Sidewalk. Heidi also says that my sister and I are from the same garden, but definitely different flowers. That's
What kind of
that's
flower
kind of
are
cute.
you? Are you a sunflower or a daisy?
Here you go, Heidi. CL wants to know: Are you a sunflower or a daisy? That's okay, Annie. You're allowed to be late.
Hi, Annie. Yeah, so
Michelle's
that's what led me on that little segment. You often hear sage is a big one lately for practice. People are very much against sage all of a sudden. They're saying that you can't harvest it. You shouldn't harvest it if you're anything other than Native American. You shouldn't harvest it if you're because I've heard that because there's a shortage of it. There's
okay.
not. All of these things are incorrect.
Okay,
So
that's a bunch of horse shit.
it sure is.
I agree.
So
Yes, it
I live
is.
out in the desert, and it's everywhere. Everywhere you
Mm-hmm.
go, there's fields of it everywhere. Now, I'm not gathering it on a commercial level, of course, and selling it or anything, but I do
Mm-hmm.
use it. It works for me, and it's very much a part of my practice. It's because it's available. It's right outside my door. So,
Go ahead. Vet Girl's listening, but meal prepping and cooking and baking. Annie Waters is a lotus flower, and Heidi is I'm the moonflower, and she's a sunflower. I'm a Cancer ruled by the moon, and she's a Leo ruled by the sun. Okay, that's like craziness.
it's very
Um,
metaphysical, metaphorical.
yes, very, very metaphorical. But you know what the hell with what people have to say about it? Most of your Wiccans or witchies, I call them witchies because that's okay. They're proud to call themselves witchy. I'm great to acknowledge, that they are a witch. I have no problem with that. What bothers me the most is how they are put in a category which everybody thinks that they are evil, which is a bunch of bullshit.
That's
Okay.
another one. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because I have a lot of friends who are witches, okay, and they are the most kindest, wonderful, beautiful people in the world. You know what I mean? They sure there's maybe a couple covens out there here in Pittsburgh, but a lot of the witches I do know are solitary. Okay,
Hmm.
and I guess that being a solitary witch is kind of like wanting to go with your own flow. Stony Hobbit, hey Stony, he, I'm here with you and all. But a lot of them are solitary. And, not too many belong in covens. But I look at um, and I know covens, and there's a lot of them that it's just like being in a paranormal group. Okay,
Hmm.
because you got a lot of egos going on in there. You
Oh
know what
yeah,
I mean? And
it's become that
it's
way.
just
It's really
ridiculous. Yeah, and I guess anything out there that you belong to a group with, and it don't have to be Wiccan groups or covens or nothing like that. It could be something else, a bowling team, got in the Eagles,
You
the
know,
ego.
I used to be a cyclist, and you would get that even in cycling.
Oh, I bet. Now that's ridiculous. Okay, that's ridiculous. Having egos in cyclists. My God, all you do is get on a two-wheel bike and start pedaling. Shit, you
But
know.
yeah, but if you don't have that $45,000 bike, you can forget it.
Right. The hell with that. The hell with the fourth up. I'm happy and content with what I got. You know, I'm no Richie. I'm no Richie person. But you know what? Hell with them. You use your own bike. You might be able to kick my butt with that $4,000 bike. But man, I'm happy as a jaybird, cycling by myself with my own bike. Okay. Kevin said it's part of my ways witchy, but also grabbed from many culture ways. Borrow from all over. If you will chaos, witch, or spiritual. Okay. Um, so I was concerned because you were mad when you were doing that little video there.
I'm not exactly mad. I'm just, I get
I
tired of
felt
hearing the same jargon over and over and over again from people. And it's just like, guys, do your research. When people, real practitioners that practice, we'll talk about voodoo for a minute because this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Real practitioners of voodoo, you don't see them. They are not in the quarters. You're not going to find them at Hex. I love that shop. Don't get me wrong. They're not there. They're not buying stuff from these shops. They're not buying the $100 candles. And you know what they're doing? They're going
no.
outside their door into the swamps and collecting what they can there. And that's what they use in their practice.
Okay. Now, would you not consider that, even though they're voodoo priestess, would you not consider voodoo as a witch?
Oh, absolutely, I do. But my point
Okay.
is that you don't need to go to these shops and buy, like I keep hearing, you got to buy this, you got to buy that, you got to have this specific herb for this spell to work. And none of this is true. None of it.
Hmm.
You don't
What's your
need all of that stuff.
okay? What's your theory on spells?
I think they very much work. I do spell work myself. I do use gems and different herbs and different spells, but it's more of the intent behind those items.
Hmm.
Like, quite
Okay.
frankly, I can go into my kitchen and conjure up anything without digging into any kind of um, herbs or anything. It's all about
Right.
intentional. You can just sit down and cast your own spell work,
Hmm.
just meditating. It's all energy work. It's not really, what am I trying to say? You don't have to go out and,
Buy all that stuff.
right, right. And the other thing is, you have people now who they're claiming to be the voice of witchcraft, or the authority, I should say, of different witchcraft things. There's like really popular witches out there. Um, and I don't have a problem with that. You take what you learn, and you know what I mean? It's one of those, you take what you can and leave the rest. But when these people start saying things like, you shouldn't use sage, it's bad, or you shouldn't use lodestones, it's bad, you shouldn't use a pentagram, things like that. Why do we have these gatekeepers? There's no expert in this field whatsoever until
Can
you can
you
get
please can
doctorate.
you please explain what a gatekeeper is?
A gatekeeper is somebody telling you what you can and can't do in any given field.
Okay. I know a lot of gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Kevin said that visualize the candle, and you can touch and you can tap into that way. Don't even need a candle, for example.
You're absolutely
Stones
right.
Stone says witch is just a word to me these days, and I don't know. I've done shows to where I think Lucifer gets a bad deal. He got a bad deal in the Bible. But I think, too, also being in the metaphysical world and learning Wiccan and knowing, a lot of Wiccas and a lot of witches out there, right? I think they got a bad deal a long time ago. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
I mean, they are the, the energy. You got it. They were considered healers,
They
you
were
know?
healers. Well, that's
They
the
were
thing. They were
healers.
healers. That was the whole point of it back in the day, was
But I
healing.
think with people being ignorant, or scared or fear of the so-called healers or the witches back then. That's what it was. Other people's ignorance that really caused a lot of shit that happened back then. You
Oh
know who
yeah.
got a real raw deal was the people in Salem. I
Hmm.
did a couple shows on that on the Salem witch trials, and but a
And
lot of
for the
people out
record,
there.
the people in the Salem witch trials, they were not real witches.
No,
To make
not
that
at
clear,
all. No,
they
they
were not
weren't.
witches.
No, they weren't. Hey, Johnny. Yeah, Salem Witch Trials. I did a couple shows on that. Um, you know, Sally Force says the new 21 Pilots album just came out on 9/12. Ends with a song called Intentions. Intentions will set you free. Thank you for sharing that, Sal. I appreciate that. But you know what? As I do, okay, I got my AI here, right? Hey, Donna, good to see you, hon. I got my AI thing, um, and I looked up interesting facts about witches, and I'm going to share them, and we can talk about them, okay?
Okay.
But before that, you know, everybody, at the bottom of the hour, it's 8:30, so it's time for a little break. Me and CL will be back in a couple minutes, so sit back, enjoy. Um, the different things I'm going to be playing here. So we'll
That's
see you in a
lovely.
couple minutes.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast with host Kat Ward.
Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana Fiester, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network. We explore the latest strategies, insights, and stories from successful entrepreneurs and experts. From managing stress to building a thriving business, we've got you covered.
Are you ready to explore the unknown? Dive into the world of the strange, mysterious, and unexplained with Eerie Expeditions magazine. Each issue is packed with spine-tingling tales, cutting-edge paranormal investigations, and exclusive insights into hauntings, cryptids, UFOs, and more. Whether you're a seasoned investigator or just love a good ghost story, Eerie Expeditions magazine has something for you. Join our growing community of truth seekers and adventure lovers. Subscribe today at EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com and unlock the secrets of the supernatural. Are you ready? That's EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com, where the extraordinary is just a click away. Dare.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second part of Into the Night with me, your host, and my co-host, CL Thomas. We are on 105.3 Mississippi, 107.7 New Orleans. Couple announcements before we get into the second half of the show. Don't forget, Mr. Don Yazzie, his podcast comes on right after mine, around 9:10 p.m. It's called Don't Whistle in the Dark. I had him on a guest the other day, and it was a great show. So whenever you're done with my show, go over and check his show out and give him some of that Into the Night love. Is what you need to do. Is what you got to. And I'm telling you, he's great. He has a good show. And then on Tuesday nights, my dear friend C.L. Thomas here, she has her own show after my show, of course. Her show is called the Gateway Podcast. And of course, everybody go over there and give her some love. Tell her I sent you. They say, hey, Sean sent me. That's all you got to do is say, Sean sent me. And then we'll be okay. Then I'll get a kickback on all the money that she makes with it. You know what I mean? Look at that smile on your face.
What
So on the
money?
first half, so on in the first part, we're talking about witches. It's part of my Halloween series. So I told you last week I was going to talk about witches, and tonight we're talking about witches. And it's all good. It's not bad. To recap the first half, CL, would you like to recap it shortly for us?
Yeah, we just talked about a little bit about the misconceptions of what the practice is about, and some of the misconceptions about how you actually practice and what you need as far as tools and people who tell you what to do and what not to do.
Right. Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I'm on UPRN Talk Radio 105.3, Mississippi 107.7, New Orleans, and I am coming from the Lake O Woods in West Virginia. It's a lake in the middle of the mountains of the Appalachian, and it is peaceful and quiet here. So I'm just like re-energizing myself. Um, but as I was going through my AI here, I love AI now because it makes life a lot easier. And I figured out how to keep my screen on, on my phone to keep it on, so I'm not busy doing this crap. You know what I mean? But there are 10 common things, interesting facts about witches.
Well, tell
Okay.
me about them.
Okay, the white witches were once common. In medieval Britain, cunning folk who used herbs and other ingredients for healing were considered a normal part of the village life and were not seen as evil. Okay. And we did talk about that before we went to break. And there is Loki.
There's
Annie
Loki.
Walker says, Annie says, CL, can you tell about the history before the trials?
You mean in Salem? So Salem, the whole idea behind Salem, it really happened from you had Danvers. That church broke away from the Salem Village Church. So there was a discrepancy there with the pastor. I think his name was Samuel Paris. And
Yes.
so there was
Yes.
already tension between the two. And then they started this whole thing where people were being, what's the word when you're blacklisted from a group community? There's a word for it, excommunicated. So they started excommunicating people, and it just got out of control. If they didn't see you as a good neighbor, they didn't like you. And then it got into people. What happened was when people were imprisoned, the people who were prosecuting them were able to take their land and their possessions, particularly if they confessed to being a witch. So you had a lot of that going on. So it became about land grabs. In the
Yep.
case of the guy who got crushed, I forget his name. The reason why he wouldn't say that he was a witch, he wouldn't confess to save his own life, is because if he did, the land would have been taken away from his wife.
Yep.
He would have been
Exactly.
legally able to take his land. So that's why he let himself just perish instead of confessing to being a witch, because he wanted his wife to have that land. But that's the kind of stuff that was going on at the time, centered on the witchcraft trials. The only reason why it stopped, mind you, it wasn't just those people who got hung. There were, I think, over 200 people that were imprisoned waiting trial
Yes.
to be hung. And it
Yes.
was all
Yep.
over land disputes, property disputes, things like that. So there was no witchcraft involved. None of those people were actual witches. They were just seen as excommunicated from the church for one reason or another.
Right.
The only reason why it came to an end was because the governor's wife ended up being accused. And so finally he put a stop to it, and that was the end of it.
Do you know today, and today, even up to today, that they're actually giving reparations for the families of the witches that were found guilty and hung? Do you know that they're doing that today?
I did not know that, but they should,
Yes, they
because
are.
they
They
have
are.
taken on these
They
people's
are.
lands and stuff.
They even gave them, I want to say, a monument of the people. Yeah. There's a lot more to that backstory. Cindy, hello. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. Annie Waters says witchcraft in general. I was reading recently about Egypt. Crazy. Yeah. No, Egypt is crazy stuff too. But back to the interesting facts, right? Number two, the pointy hats are a myth. The iconic pointy hat associated with witches was not a historical garment, but an 18th century artistic invention, possibility linked of depictions of Satan.
So it came from also a peasant's hat, because a
Okay.
peasant's hat back in the day was kind of shaped like that too.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Just like them farmers over in Vietnam and Thailand, they wear them big like
Hmm.
hats, like sombreros. Number three, not all alleged witches were executed. In the vast period of the witch trials, approximately 80,000 were recorded, but only about 35,000 resulted in execution. Many faced other punishment, like fines or exile. Hmm, that's pretty interesting. Now, number four, execution methods varied. While some witches were burned, other methods of execution were more common, including strangulation, drowning, or beheading, followed by the burning of a corpse. I didn't know that about those execution moments there. How about you? Have you ever heard of that?
I have heard of that.
Have you?
Yeah,
Care to share your thoughts on that?
about witches being burned. I think it's all
Well,
tragic.
no, about the strangulations and the drownings and the beheading.
Yeah, it's tragic what happened.
Hmm. And like I said, like when I talked about Lucifer the other day, um, I do
There,
believe, and I'll take this to my death, is that um, the witches got a bad deal, you know, and it all stemmed back to stories going down through generation. You know, if you tell a person that here's a watch, and by the time it gets to another person, you have a watch, a ring, a vest. You know what I mean? So it's like,
mhm.
yeah. But number five, did you know witches didn't always use broomsticks? Well, a broomstick is the most famous vehicle for night flight. I got mine in my backyard. Stories and confessions from the past suggest witches sometimes used other objects for their travels. I don't know about anything like that. Did you?
I don't know anything. To be honest, I knew the story about where the broomsticks even came from to begin with, but I forgot.
Okay.
Truthfully, I forgot where that even came from. I know where
Well,
the
go
term
ahead.
pagan is actually the term pagan is country.
Right.
So that's where that all came from. So if you were of a pagan religion, that simply meant that you were of country religion,
Okay.
something that
Okay.
wasn't part of the city. Because it was when the Roman Catholics took over places like England and some of the, like Germany and some of these other villages, um, their the Catholic religion, the Catholic Church took over those towns.
Hmm.
So those still practicing these pagan religions, that's what that meant. It simply
Right.
meant they were not part of the cities.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you know there are Christmas witches?
Yes.
Folklore. I'd say this is all cool. Thank God for AI. That's all I can say. Folklore includes figures like the Christmas witch. I never knew there was a Christmas witch, who can vary in their characteristics and rules. sometimes seen as a good-natured figure. I never knew there was a Christmas witch. I did not.
The Christmas witch has a she has a witchy cat.
A black rat, black one.
Mhm.
Okay, why do witches have black cats?
They're familiars, but no, I mean
What
the witch,
what's a
the
familiar?
Christmas
What's a
witch
familiar?
has a cat,
Okay,
and that cat's
and
supposed to be like demonic or something like that
oh
in
really?
European tradition. Yeah,
Hmm. But what's a familiar?
a familiar is what they said. It's like a you have a spirit animal. Actually,
Okay,
you can consider it a guide in today's terminology, but it was an animal that was attached, some kind of spirit guide that was attached to a witch. And back during the witch trials, they would look for markings. Well, that's what they were looking for was if they were looking for like suckle points from either the devil or from familiars, which would have
okay.
been like spirits and things like that. Demons, they consider them demons.
But why the black cat? Why the black cat was like given a raw deal too?
Because the black cat, everyone was afraid of cats. They didn't like cats didn't live in your house, but they hung around because they hung around people's barns and things. They figured out somehow that they were mice catchers, so they kept them around their barns, and they just became um, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not doing a very good job tonight of talking.
Oh,
They
don't even say that. Don't even say that. Don't
they
even say that.
became
No, nope.
what is the
Don't even say.
term? Shoot.
I
You know
don't
what I'm
know.
trying to say. They
I know
became
what you're trying to say.
familiar with humans, kind of like dogs, domesticated. That's the word
Okay,
I was looking for. They became
there we go.
domesticated. But the black cat became synonymous with like demons and that sort of thing. They were afraid of them. They became unlucky. If a cat crossed your path, then you would die. And, things like that was
I
believed.
killed a black cat one time accidentally. I ran over it, and I thought I was in trouble. I was going to have like, and I didn't mean to do it. I mean, the cat came out in the middle of the road, and I had all kinds of bakery goods in the van. I felt bad for doing that. I really, really did. But you know what?
I think I
Again,
tried.
again, again. Okay. Um, I believe with all the stories coming down from the different centuries. So if you really look at it, Black Cat's got a raw deal, and everybody, Loki, everybody.
Hi, Loki. This is
Yeah,
my familiar Loki.
that's her familiar right there.
Yeah,
Uh, the Wicca movement is a modern phenomenon. In
it
the
sure
mid
is.
20th century, the term witchcraft was adopted by the Wicca movement, a form of modern paganism where some people self identify as witches.
And that was started by Gardner in the 30s.
Oh, in the 30s, was it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, Gerald Gardner, he's kind of the father of the Wiccan religion. He was seen as a very eccentric guy, and he
Mhm.
actually he started Wicca. Actually, he made Wicca an actual religion in England. He fought the act and got that so that everybody, well, not everybody, so that people can practice that witchcraft freely, basically.
Right.
And he
Okay.
came up with all the Wiccan ideals and what worked for him and his group. He had a coven. Um, Lester Crowley, at the same time, I think they did meet. They kind of had similar backgrounds. Lester Crowley was very much into witchcraft too, but they kind of
Hmm.
took different directions. So Lester Crowley did like Thelema. He started the Thelema version of Wicca, which is what the Church of Satan is based off of. Do what thou wilt. Whereas
Hmm.
Gerald Gardner, he was more of the white witch, the natural kind of thing. So I think someone mentioned Egypt earlier.
Yeah.
Lester
Annie.
Crowley's, yeah, Annie. So Lester Crowley's teachings, they come from the Egyptian gods and goddesses. He actually
Oh,
went and stayed in a pyramid. I think it was like Hermeses or something like that. I can't.
yeah.
He actually stayed in the pyramid over there to try to connect with that spirit, to learn more about dark magic, dealing with that particular realm and
And
Egyptian stuff.
Yeah, he has a reputation now with a lot of people, and it's not a good one. But then again, I read a little bit of Ash Crowley, and I have no problem with him, man. You learn something. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? You learn something. But number 8, behaviors could lead to accusations. People who displayed antisocial behaviors, such as being argumentative, critical, or sharp tongued, were more likely to be accused of witchcraft. Interesting. The
Anything else
concept,
with the norm, anything that pushes the boundaries.
right? Yeah, and then can you imagine them boys back then, that back in the 1600s and shit like that, living in the 21st century today? They'd be like crying, man. They'd be like, "Holy crap, what happened?" You think about it. See, think about it. It
You
would be
can't.
you can't.
I mean,
The
you got to picture it this way. Back in when the Salem witch trials happened, the Puritans were the stronghold.
They were a pain in the asses, but they were.
If you weren't part of that church, you couldn't live in that community at all. You couldn't
Right.
do it. It's kind of like if you've ever been to a strict Amish community, if you're
No.
excommunicated or not part of that church, you can't do business with them. They're not allowed to purchase anything from within. I remember when I lived in Pennsylvania, I had a bookshelf made by the Amish, and I went to pick it up, and there was a wife and a couple of kids out in the front yard, and I tried to talk to them. Of course, they called me English.
Yeah,
I don't know why
that's hard
they do
done.
that, but the guy, the man that I was dealing with, he said, they're not really allowed to talk to you, flat out, and he told them to go in the house. So if you think about back then, how strict that community is, and then you have the entire city like that. Just think of that.
Right. I'm telling you
There's
what,
nothing
man.
different.
We have a cemetery down in Union, not before Uniontown. I forget where it's at. It's called Quaker Cemetery. Okay, and that cemetery was built by the Puritans. Right, and that is one crazy cemetery. Seriously, it's a scary cemetery. Now, the concept of witchcraft traveled globally. During the age of colonialism, the concept of witchcraft was introduced to many cultures, and in some cases, it was suspected of hindering responses to serious illnesses. I did not understand that. Did you?
Mm-mm.
No,
What do you
me
mean?
neither.
Can you say
That
that
must
one
be
more
AI.
time?
Yeah. The concept of witchcraft traveled globally. During the age of colonialism, the concept of witchcraft was introduced to many cultures, and in some cases, it was suspected of hindering responses to serious illnesses.
I wonder if that came with the idea that, first of all, there's this fear around women. So if you notice, all witches, particularly in Hollywood witches, they're all cast as women, right?
Hmm.
There's like this general fear of women. Even back in that day, witches were always women. Well, think who the midwives always were. They were women delivering babies. Who would they always call on when somebody was sick? It was always the midwives. So I wonder
Right.
if that goes hand in hand with that.
That's very possible on that. Definitely possible. Now, the last important, interesting fact is the story of maybe Circe. I don't know how to say that. Shows a different side. Circe from Greek mythology is often called the first witch and represents a historical depiction of potential power and autonomy for women. Well, you just talked about that, didn't
Hmm.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, see, your vibes are connecting with AI, so that's pretty cool.
My vibes
Yeah.
are connecting with
Your
AI.
vibes are, yeah, they are, they are. But So we got about 5 minutes now. What is your take, your last word on witches? And the other question is, do you like Halloween? Is that one of your favorite
Oh, I
holidays?
love Halloween. It's always been my favorite. It's the best holiday out there as far as I'm concerned. It's the
Okay.
best time of year, starting now until November 24th. It's like my favorite time of year.
Hmm. And do you dress up or do you pass out candy? What are
So
some traditions that you have or had done?
I actually build an altar. I put all my ancestors on there. I do have a silent dinner, which
Hmm.
is I call in ancestors and friends that passed away for the night, and try to connect with them. Um, Gosh, I've been doing that forever. I use pan. I leave a plate of pan out, which is a special Mexican sweetbread.
Hmm.
And I cut an apple in half so that you can see the star in the middle. I leave that out as an offering with a candle.
Hmm.
Um, I used to have a big party when I used to live in Nashville with a barn. And so I would have like a giant Halloween party every single year. Of course, I don't do that
Right.
anymore. But
Hmm.
yeah, it used to last all month, the celebrations. I had fun. I still celebrate. I don't have the parties anymore, unfortunately, but yeah, I do a lot.
Oh
Pumpkin spice
God, she did
yeah.
it. Oh my God, that girl, go home, man. You ain't allowed. No, boo.
Pumpkin spice beer is out. Pumpkin spice
Oh,
lattes
don't,
are
oh
out.
my, oh, pumpkin spice. Whoever invented the pumpkin spice shit needs to go home or do
Oh,
something.
I love it. I love the
Oh,
smell. I
come
love
on.
everything
No
about
way.
it.
No, chai tea with a little bit of pumpkin spice, a little bit on my apple pie, whatever. Forget it, dude. I mean, it's gross. Oh, and that's my opinion, everybody. And I'm
Oh,
going
I
to be
love it. I
saying
can't
that
get
a
enough.
lot.
I got a
Oh,
pumpkin candle burning right now as we're talking.
I, you know
I have
what?
a
I can deal with that, but not the damn spice. You know what I mean? I can't deal with that pumpkin spice. It just drives
no
me crazy.
pumpkin spice pancakes. Come on.
No, not at all. You just ruined it. Give me my chocolate chip pancakes, not pumpkin spice pancakes. Please. That's what I'd
You
rather
just don't
do.
know what you're missing.
Oh, I do know what I'm missing, and I'm glad I'm missing it. To be honest with you, but we're getting down close to the witchy hour, hon. Um, I'm glad you came on and talked about your experiences of being part of the Wiccan or the witchy community. Um, Maybe when I saw you on TikTok the other morning, you know, kind of like because I don't believe there's no such thing as coincidences. I really totally believe everything happens for a reason. And I believe what you talked about that I caught you in on TikTok um, had to happen in order to get to tonight. Kurt says, great show, Sean and CL. Thank you both. Hope you have a great rest of your evening.
But
See you
just
tonight.
just like there was 100 years ago or years ago, there's just so much misconceptions about witchcraft, and now you got a lot of people in the community saying what you can and can't do, and none of that's true. It's about your own practice and your own spiritual growth when it really comes down to it.
Exactly. But, I say this all the time. Whatever you believe in, it could be Catholicism, it could be Buddhism, it could be uh, Luciferians, it could be Satanists, whatever you believe in. And if it's making your life a lot better, you know, um, then go with it, stick with it. If that's going to help you go down your path, right? Then
Right.
stick with it. But it was a great show tonight. Hopefully, I can get you on some more Sundays um, because it is Halloween season, and since you like Halloween, it'd be nice to have you on the show.
You know what I
Uh,
would like to do is maybe do a live spirit art drawing sometime.
we can do that. In fact, why don't we do that next Sunday?
Okay, I could try to do a spirit art reading live
Okay,
for somebody.
Okay, great. So next Sunday, I'm going to have CL back on, and she's going to do a live. Sally says, "Yeah, a side."
I'll try. We'll see if I get anything.
Oh, I know you can. What is it again? A live
Spirit
drawing?
art. Spirit art.
Spirit art. Man. That ought to be interesting. And then we'll throw a little bit of Halloween in there next Sunday too. But this is going to be interesting. So come here next Sunday, okay? And we're going to do a reading. CL's going to do a reading on spirit art. Um, Kevin says, "Love that, CL." Sally says, "Yeah." And Vector was cutting onions and rushed to my phone to comment that. God bless you, Vector. God bless you. But so, everybody, thank you for coming into the show tonight. Don't forget, you got Don Yazzie and his podcast coming on in about 10 minutes. It's called Don't Whistle at Night. Feel free, no, just go over there, give him some love, and listen to his podcast. It will be totally interesting, whatever he comes up with. Like I said, I had him on as a guest, and it was a great show that night with him as a guest. So, children, if you can, please go to your parents, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And parents, please go to your children, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And if you don't have no parents and if you have no children, find someone, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. Because those 3 words, I love you, go a long way. And on that note, Miss CL, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Good night.